Billy, Matt Norlander, CBSSports.com. You get, and then Louisville's also had injuries as well. Both of you guys get to this point. A team's ability, a coach's ability to overcome injuries to get to, obviously, the Elite Eight. Is that overstated, or is there a real amount of pressure and a methodology that you and other coaches go through? Can you speak through, to how you've been able to do that, particularly late in the season, and also Rick as well, to get to this point to overcome, obviously, some hindrances with both of your teams?
Well, first, I think the injury part of it's part of the game. You know, there are injuries that teams can't overcome. You know, there are those kind of injuries where really you can totally change the complexion of your team. Becomes very difficult to overcome. You know, Will Yeget was not a great scorer for us, but he was a great defender, and he was a great rebounder, and he was a guy that got a lot of deflections, and he could play 4 different people. So those kind of things you try to get your team to make up for. But if you take certain guys off certain teams, the complexion of that team would change a whole lot. And the complexion of our team has changed, but we've been able to overcome some of that. So I think getting your guys to understand the things that you got to try to overcome, and sometimes injuries are difficult, and I think we all face them and deal with them during the course of a long season. And the reality of it is the guy's not coming back. Like, Will Yeget is not coming back. So we better deal with it when it happened and figure out how to deal with it and figure out how to move forward and get better with the injury. And try to get your guys into the mindset of, I think, as a coach, the kind of vision you want to have for how you want your team to play.
Okay, right here in the front.
Thank you. Pat Dooley, Gainesville Sun. Billy, you're a take one game at a time guy. You don't look far ahead in the bracket, but did you even notice Louisville in the same side as you? And do you believe that the NCAA, when they're setting this up, does set up these things that could happen going back to New Orleans, chance to go back to New Orleans?
Well, I would say, Pat, based on the seeding, I don't think they thought that Louisville and us would ever meet. You know, with the way it was seeded, it was probably, you know, should have, you know, people maybe looking at Missouri, you know, in this game, but that's what makes the NCAA tournament great. You know, I knew early on that we were in the same region with them, but, you know, to get to this point, 3 games seems like an eternity in a lot of ways. You know, it seems like we played Virginia a month ago. You know, it seems like we played Norfolk State 3 weeks ago. You know, days of, you know, going from one game to the next, travel, being away, those kind of things, you know, days can become long. The NCAA has said that they don't do that. Maybe they'll look at those kind of matchups and those kind of things. I mean, I don't know if they do or they don't. I think sometimes maybe those first or second round matchup games, there's things they look at that may be of intrigue, but how much they do it, I don't know. I think they're really trying to seed the tournament fairly based on how you've played and performed during the course of the season.
Front row to the left.
Marty Snyder, CBS Turner. So we heard Rick's account of it. What's your account of the first day you guys met? He says you walked in and said, "I'm out of here."
I did say that. And actually, you know, what happened was when I met with him first, he said, "I heard you're wanting to transfer." And I said, "I am." You know, Coach says he made some phone calls and didn't want to hurt my feelings, and, you know, he never told me that. But I had kind of searched around a little bit myself, and I didn't have very many feelers, so he's probably not too far off base. You know, he just didn't promise me anything. Said that if I would listen to him and I'd work hard, that it would be the greatest 2 years experience of my life, and he was right. And I was committed to it and worked hard and tried to get better, and he gave me and provided me a great opportunity to play. But I think it was a great lesson for me that I share even with our guys that go through difficulties. That's why for a guy like Casey Prather playing the way he did, you know, against Virginia, his perseverance was great, because a lot of times when guys are not playing and they're young and they're immature, they have a tendency to look at all the other things on the peripheral that have nothing to do with why they're not playing. And until you start to look internally, start to take responsibility and take onus for yourself, it's really hard to get better. I don't know if, unless you're really self-reflective, I just don't think you can really ever reach your fullest potential. I think the people that are most self-reflective, and there's a balance between being self-reflective and beating yourself up, but I felt like I could do it. You know, he told the team, everybody start with a clean slate. I felt like I could really play and contribute. I didn't know how good our team was going to be. But I had to address my issues. I had to address, you know, what I needed to do. And I made a commitment to do that, and it was great.
In the back.
coach in a team meeting, in a huddle, have you ever caught yourself and go, wow, I sound like Coach Pitino right now?
I don't know. The one thing that I think that I've learned is, and even being around Coach Pitino, there's only one Coach Pitino. There's only one him. And I've always felt like I need to be myself. Certainly basketball-wise, passion, philosophy. I think we share a lot of those things. But I think if I felt like I was just trying to be him, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I just wouldn't feel comfortable and probably wouldn't do a great job coaching. He is so unique and so special, as a person and as a coach, that there's only one of him. There's only one of him. And I think that a lot of times maybe when coaches look to other coaches and try to be other coaches, when really they may be blessed with a lot of different strengths and talents and ability, and they need to address their team how they feel comfortable. But I think philosophy-wise, we share an enormous amount of similarities.